I'm Joanna Small, your Public Information Officer for the Wheat Ridge Police Department. It's Friday, June 9th, and this is your WRPD Video Week in Review. Here's a summary of some of the most notable calls your Wheat Ridge patrol officers responded to over this past week. Overnight on June 9th, one of our patrol officers located a vehicle reported stolen out of Arvada in the 9900 block of West 49th. The vehicle was occupied by two people. One was determined to be the person responsible for the vehicle, meaning she had possession of the keys. As a result, she is now facing motor vehicle theft charges. Late on June 8th, officers were called to a report of a robbery at the Walgreens on West 32nd Avenue. A white male between the ages of 25 and 30 wearing a black mask and blue hoodie brought an item up to the register, then demanded the clerk give him all the cash in the register. The incident was captured on multiple security cameras. If you believe you have any information about this suspect's identity or this crime, please call our investigative team at the number that's there on your screen. Also overnight on June 8th, officers were doing extra patrols at an apartment complex in Wheat Ridge we know to have a high volume of criminal activity. A male officers recognized as having warrants was contacted and also found to have a loaded handgun in his waistband. He is the restrained party in a protection order which prohibits him from possessing a weapon. Additionally, the suspect had large numbers of fentanyl pills, methamphetamine, and drug paraphernalia on him. He's now facing felony drug possession charges as well as a protection order violation and carrying a concealed weapon charges. On June 7th, officers found an occupied stolen Ford E350 at the TA truck stop in the 12,000 block of West 44th Avenue. Both the man and woman found inside the vehicle were taken into custody. The male suspect is facing aggravated motor vehicle theft charges, and the female suspect was jailed on an outstanding warrant. On June 6th, the officers responded to a business in the 4400 block of Wadsworth for a man yelling at customers. We contacted that individual, who then tried to remove a handgun from his waistband in order to conceal it. Once identified, officers learned he also had warrants for his arrest. He's now facing charges for carrying a concealed weapon without a permit, and he was jailed on the outstanding warrants. Overnight on June 5th, officers were dispatched to the 4500 block of Yarrow Street for a male on a roof. He had fled when confronted by the homeowner, and he left his dog in the homeowner's backyard. A short time later, a call for service in the 4500 block of Zephyr Street came in for a suspicious male in a backyard, and that male matched the description of the person on the roof from before. A neighboring agency provided a drone to assist with the search for the suspect, but he was not located. A nearby resident kenneled the dog for safekeeping until our community services team, our civilians who handle your animal control calls, could respond to take custody of the animal. Also on June 5th, officers found an abandoned vehicle missing its tires on the right side and blocking the right lane of I-70 eastbound just before Harlan Street. In searching the vehicle, officers uncovered drugs, an empty rifle case, 2 extended rifle magazines with multiple rounds, a bulletproof vest, and 3 handguns, 2 of which were stolen. The vehicle was towed for safekeeping, and the guns, drugs, and ammo were booked into our evidence facility. On June 4th, officers were called to the Safeway off Wadsworth for reports that an unwanted party was there. When we contacted that person, they learned he had 9 outstanding warrants for his arrest. He was jailed on the warrants. On June 3rd, officers were first to arrive on the scene of a suspected fentanyl overdose in the 10,000 block of I-70 Frontage Road North. The reporting party had fled the area, leaving the incapacitated woman alone in a motel room. Officers breached the door, got inside, administered 2 doses of Narcan, then started CPR on the woman. Firefighter EMTs arrived on scene and transported her to the hospital for further treatment. Well done, officers. Also on June 3rd, we told you about a man who was seen a few times by a passing runner on the Greenbelt masturbating along the trail. A person we believe to be this same suspect was once again spotted June 3rd touching himself. Several of our bike patrol officers spent the morning patrolling the trail Thursday in search of this culprit. We will continue to attempt to locate and apprehend this person. If you see anything like this, call 911. Again, on June 3rd, officers contacted a suspicious person in the 4500 block of Yukon Court and learned he had a felony escape warrant for his arrest. It was also discovered he is a suspect in a case from the previous week. He was jailed on the warrant and faces charges for a protection order violation and possession of a controlled substance. Continuing with incidents on June 3rd, the owner of DS Liquor called to report the same person who broke into the business the previous day had done it yet again. Officers located the suspect nearby and found him to be in possession of fentanyl. He then admitted to the burglaries. He also had a warrant for his arrest out of Lakewood. He now faces new charges for second-degree burglary, possession of a controlled substance, and possession of paraphernalia. There were also several significant incidents this week we told you about in standalone posts on our social media pages. Over the past weekend, a passerby called 911 to report a suspected drunk driver traveling the wrong direction on West 44th Avenue. It's called a Ready Report. That stands for Report Every Drunk Driver Immediately. Officers located that vehicle and arrested the driver, who had several warrants. A heartfelt thank you to the person who chose to call 911 instead of looking the other way. Also today, we told you about the identification and charging of the driver responsible for a violent collision last week on I-70 eastbound. He drove around the accident he caused, then he sped off. Our crime analyst did tireless work using dash cam footage from a passing vehicle, and her efforts led to our crash and traffic team investigators being able to find the causing driver. He's now facing careless driving and hit and run injury accident charges. Again, strong work. It was also a busy week for stolen vehicle recoveries. Patrol recovered 8 stolen vehicles, including the ones we mentioned in this report. While our crash and traffic team focuses solely on traffic enforcement as well as accident response, issuing lots of citations separate from patrol, our patrol officers too spend their free time looking for dangerous drivers in areas we've noticed particularly egregious driving behavior. This past week, they issued approximately 30 citations for driving infractions. Don't forget, we also spend our time between 911 calls, stepping up our presence in areas we know to be high in criminal activity, contacting people for lesser crimes like jaywalking and trespassing, which then often lead to arrests for things like drugs, drug paraphernalia, and/or warrants. And don't forget this either. You can still sign up to have your catalytic converter etched for free of charge tomorrow at Cypher Automotive. There's a link to get registered for a time slot on our Facebook page as well as on Nextdoor. That's all for now. We'll see you next time. And remember, if you need us, we are always just minutes away.